Most people have heard the phrase digging up information. It's about going back into the past, trying to uncover things that still matter today. And honestly, it fits archaeology perfectly, because that's exactly what it is. People literally digging into the ground beneath us, searching for clues about the people and places that existed long before we did. In this video, we're going to look at some of the most incredible archaeological discoveries that still amaze historians. Number 15. The mummified hawk. For years, a small mummy displayed in Maidstone Museum in England was labeled as a bird. Well, most likely a hawk. Nothing about it seemed worth questioning. The size fit, the casing showed a painted falcon face, and references to Horus in the markings only reinforced the idea. It all lined up neatly, but then, someone finally decided to take a closer look. What they found shifted everything. Inside the casing wasn't a bird at all, but the remains of a stillborn human baby, preserved over 2,000 years ago. That discovery doesn't just correct a label, it changes the entire meaning behind the object. Animal mummification was common in ancient Egypt, but this wasn't typical. Stillborn children were usually buried quietly, often beneath homes without ceremony. This one was treated differently, carefully wrapped and placed in a decorated case. That choice suggests intention, but not explanation. Sometimes, even when we uncover the truth, it only deepens the mystery. But why did they even do that is still a super big mystery. Number 14. The Mayan alien carvings. The ancient Maya already hold a reputation for being far ahead of their time, and especially with a calendar system precise enough to predict solar eclipses centuries in advance. Still, certain things push curiosity into stranger territory. Recently revealed carvings and sculptures have sparked fresh debate, mainly because some of them look unexpected. One piece appears to show a flying object hovering above the ground, complete with what resembles a pilot inside. Others depict faces with large eyes and elongated features, eerily similar to what people now describe as gray aliens. Even more puzzling are human figures that seem to represent different races, including African and Caucasian features, something that shouldn't align with the Maya's known world at the time. It leaves two competing ideas hanging in the air. Either this civilization was far more connected and imaginative than we knew, or something influenced them in ways we haven't fully explained. Either way, the carvings refuse to sit quietly in history. Number 13. The ancient headless horse burial practices often reveal more about a culture than anything else. But every now and then, one comes along that leaves more questions than answers. In Knittlingen, archaeologists found a grave that dates back around 1,400 years. Inside this grave, they found a human skeleton buried alongside a horse. That alone isn't unheard of. What makes this discovery more strange is what's missing: the horse's head. It had been deliberately removed, and it wasn't found anywhere nearby. That changes the entire tone of the burial. The man and the animal were clearly connected, likely owner and companion, yet the act of decapitation suggests something symbolic or ritualistic. The problem is nothing else in the area matches it. Other graves nearby follow completely different patterns, with no similar treatment. That isolation makes it harder to explain. It doesn't fit into a known tradition, which leaves it sitting in that uncomfortable space where history offers no clear answers at all. Number 12. The Sutton Hoo helmet. Some discoveries don't fade with time. They just wait for the right moment to be seen properly. The Sutton Hoo helmet is one of those. Found in 1939 during the excavation of an Anglo-Saxon ship burial, it wasn't uncovered as a complete piece, but as a scattered collection of fragments. What stands today is the result of years of careful reconstruction, finished in 1946. The helmet itself feels less like simple armor and more like a statement. Its surface carries detailed features, a faceplate shaped with a nose, brows, and even a mustache, forming the outline of a dragon when viewed as a whole. That detail wasn't accidental. It signaled power, identity, and status. Not everyone would have been allowed to wear something like this. Many believe it may have belonged to King Redwald of East Anglia, though certainty remains just out of reach. Even now it carries that quiet authority, as if it still remembers who once stood behind it. Number 11. The Moabite Altar of Ataroth. Ancient texts often sit in a strange place between belief and proof. Every so often, though, something surfaces that bridges that gap. In Jordan, archaeologists uncovered a stone altar dating back around 2,800 years in the ancient city of Ataroth. Its inscriptions tell a story of conflict, mentioning large quantities of bronze taken after a battle, and thousands of foreign soldiers falling within the city. Even in fragments, the message feels direct and unpolished. What makes it incredible is how closely it aligns with a known account from the Hebrew Bible, where King Mesha of Moab rebelled against Israel and seized the city. It's one of those rare moments where physical evidence and written history begin to overlap. Not perfectly, but enough to feel real. It doesn't settle every question, but it shifts the conversation. Instead of wondering if events like these happened, it starts to look more like how much of it we've yet to uncover. It's amazing. Number 10. The ancient Mayan city of Nixtunchich. Well, from the ground, Nixtunchich looks like a typical ancient city. And the kind of ruins, stone structures, and the remains of something long gone. But from above, the story shifts. The entire layout appears to form the shape of a crocodile, stretched across the landscape with surprising precision. That raises an obvious question. Was it intentional? If it was, then the planning behind it goes far beyond what we usually expect. The Maya didn't have the ability to view their work from the sky, yet somehow, this design still came together. Even without that shape, the city stands out. Its layout follows a strict grid pattern, something rarely seen in Mayan settlements, suggesting a level of organization that feels almost modern. There are defined areas for gathering, movement, and structure, all arranged with purpose. Whether the crocodile form was planned or accidental, as it adds another layer to a place that already challenges assumptions about how these cities were built and understood. What do you think about it? Number 9. The Pictish cross slab of Dingwall. Some discoveries don't announce themselves. They sit quietly until someone finally pays attention. That's exactly what happened in Dingwall, where a rare Pictish cross slab was hiding in plain sight. At some point in the 1700s, it was reused as a simple grave marker, then slowly swallowed by weeds and time. Nobody seemed to notice what it really was. When experts finally took a closer look, they realized they were standing in front of something incredibly rare, one of fewer than 50 known Pictish cross slabs. The surface is packed with carvings, strange symbols, animals, and figures that feel half mythical. These weren't random decorations. And stones like this once stood at the edges of settlements, acting as warnings or markers of territory. What's even more intriguing is that the reverse side hasn't been fully revealed yet. If it follows the pattern of others, it may carry a large Christian cross, hinting at a shift in belief during that era. Number 8. Nalanda University now. This one still amazes historians. Long before modern universities took shape, there was Nalanda. Established in the 5th century in what is now Bihar, it stood as one of the earliest known centers of organized learning. But it wasn't just early, it was influential. At its peak, it drew scholars from across Asia, turning the region into a hub of intellectual exchange. Buddhism formed its core, yet the curriculum extended far beyond that, covering subjects like medicine, logic, mathematics, and philosophy. And that range speaks to something larger than religion. It reflects a place built on curiosity. Nalanda remained active for centuries, surviving political shifts and cultural changes until it was eventually damaged during invasions. Even then, it didn't disappear overnight. Parts of it continued in reduced form for years. What stands now are ruins, but they carry weight. This wasn't just a place of study. It shaped thought, influenced generations, and left a mark that still lingers long after the buildings themselves fell silent. Number 7. The mysterious carvings of Fontainebleau. The forest of Fontainebleau in the south of Paris stretches wide and quiet. It's the kind of place where silence feels heavier than it should. Hidden within its rocks and caves are markings left by humans who lived there around 40,000 years ago, but nothing about them fits neatly into what we expect. Instead of recognizable animals or scenes, the carvings lean toward geometric patterns, lines, circles, grids, repeating in ways that feel deliberate but unreadable. Stranger still, many of these carvings appear in places that are difficult to access, almost as if they weren't meant for everyone to see. That alone raises questions. Then come the images of animals like elephants and seals, creatures that shouldn't have been part of this environment at all. It leaves behind an unsettling possibility. Either these people knew far more than we assume, or something about their world doesn't line up with ours. Well, whatever the actual truth is, Fontainebleau doesn't give easy answers, and maybe that's exactly why it lingers. Number 6. The medieval gold brooch. Sometimes, and history doesn't wait for experts. It lands in the hands of whoever happens to be looking. In Wiltshire, an amateur using a metal detector uncovered a small gold brooch that turned out to be far more important than it first appeared. Dating back to the 12th or 13th century, the piece carries a delicate inscription in Latin, carefully etched around its edges. The words form a familiar prayer: "Hail Mary, full of grace." But what really sets it apart are the additional markings. 5 Hebrew letters believed to represent a protective charm. That combination tells you a lot about the time it came from. Faith and superstition didn't sit separately. They overlapped. People believed objects like this could shield them from illness or unseen forces. The brooch itself is tiny, and yet the level of craftsmanship needed to carve such detail into it is impressive. It wasn't just worn, it was trusted. So, always hope for the good. Number 5. The Mummy's Cellar of Vuurwerk. In a quiet village in the Netherlands, a routine repair job in the 1700s led to something deeply unsettling. Carpenters working in a church uncovered a hidden crypt containing several coffins. At first glance, nothing seemed unusual, until they opened them. Inside were bodies that hadn't decomposed. Instead of decay, there was preservation, as if time had slowed down just enough to hold everything in place. Over the years, researchers discovered that the conditions inside the crypt, cool, dry, and stable, created a natural form of mummification. It wasn't intentional, just a rare combination of environment and chance. And even animals that wandered in met the same fate. The bodies are believed to belong to members of a religious group known as the Labadists, who once lived in the area. What makes it linger in your mind isn't just the science behind it. It's the quiet realization that these people were never meant to be found this way. Number 4. The Temple Scroll of the Dead Sea. Scrolls. Among the Dead Sea Scrolls, one document has always stood apart. Known as the Temple Scroll, it stretches about 25 feet long and remains far better preserved than the others. That difference puzzled researchers for years until a closer look revealed something unexpected. This scroll had been treated with a mineral-based coating, rich in calcium, sodium, and sulfur, forming a protective layer that helped it survive where others deteriorated. And the strange part is that this mixture didn't come from the surrounding cave or even the Dead Sea itself. Someone had prepared it deliberately. That choice suggests intention, as if whoever hid the scroll understood its importance. Inside, it outlines plans for a temple that was never built, which only adds to the mystery. Why preserve this one so carefully? What made it worth the extra effort? The answers remain unclear, but the care taken with it speaks louder than any explanation we've managed to find. So, do you have any idea? Well, drop your comments down below. Number 3. The Roman tunnels of Baiae, Italy. Along the coast of Italy, the ruins of Baiae once served as a retreat for Rome's elite. It was a place built for luxury, not mystery. But beneath that image, something far stranger waited. And hidden tunnels were first noticed in the early 20th century, though it took decades before anyone seriously explored them. When they finally did, the layout revealed a network far more complex than expected. These weren't random passages, they were structured, almost theatrical in design. One archaeologist spent years mapping them out and came to a bold conclusion. The tunnels might connect to the legendary cave of the Sibyl, a prophetess described in ancient Roman texts. According to those accounts, she left her predictions on leaves at the entrance of her cave. Whether that connection is real or not, the tunnels clearly weren't built for simple use. Their design hints at symbolism, maybe even an attempt to recreate something deeper, something tied to belief rather than function. All right, now, let's head over to number 2. The ancient Chinese distillery prophet has always followed alcohol, no matter the century or the people. In China, archaeologists uncovered a distillery so large it feels closer to an early industrial operation than a simple workshop. Built around 500 years ago, the site spans roughly 55,000 square feet, packed with fermentation tanks and distillation stoves laid out with surprising precision. For its time, the setup wasn't just functional, it was advanced. This wasn't someone experimenting in small batches, this was production on a serious scale. The distillery likely specialized in rice-based spirits, something that still holds strong cultural roots in China today. Evidence places its origins in the Ming dynasty, with activity continuing into the Qing era. That kind of longevity speaks for itself. Even more remarkably, another distillery from the same period is still operating today, which makes this discovery feel less distant and more like part of a continuous story. Some traditions don't disappear, they just evolve quietly over time. Okay, guys, now let's end this with number 1. The Stone Age village of Baja high in the rugged terrain of southern Jordan sits Baja, a settlement so old it predates most things we casually call ancient. Founded around 9,000 years ago, it belongs to a time when people were just beginning to settle rather than wander. That shift alone makes it important, but what really stands out are the details left behind. Among the discoveries is a necklace made of around 2,500 beads, carefully crafted and buried with a young girl. That level of effort says something about how these people saw life and death. And they weren't just surviving. They were forming traditions, attaching meaning to moments. Reaching Baja today isn't simple. The path runs through a narrow, steep canyon, which raises an obvious question. Why choose a place like this to settle? Safety? Isolation? Maybe something we don't fully understand? Whatever the reason, the people who lived there weren't passing through. They stayed, and they left a quiet trace behind. Well, that's it from us. If you found this video interesting, be sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe. Thanks for staying till the end, and we'll see you soon in the next one.